Good evening, everyone. This is Mike. Welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be another one of my movie logs talking about what I've been watching, ending with the week of March 8th, 2020. So let's get into it. I'll start off with the film that I saw in my film class this Wednesday night. I have nothing to show you because I don't own the film. Of course, we're doing the movies of 1999, and we watched a film called The Limey, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and it stars, let's see, Terrence Stamp, Peter Fonda, Leslie Ann Warren, Barry Newman, Joe D'Alessandro, and Luis Guzman. Now, this movie was terrific. It was kind of a triumph of style over substance. The story is very, very simple, and there isn't that much that happens. It's just sort of the way the film is made and the photography and the way the characters are portrayed that makes it so fascinating. Terrence Stamp plays an Englishman. He's a career criminal who comes over to America, to LA, to find the man that he believes is responsible for the death of his young daughter. The man is played by Peter Fonda, who is a wealthy music executive, lives in a beautiful house, and so he just finds this man, and he's intent on killing him, and that's the story right there. But the way it's done was fascinating, and I'm very glad that I saw it. It had a certain amount of violence, but it wasn't so overdone, and it was good to see actors like Terrence Stamp and Peter Fonda interacting with each other. Yeah, very interesting movie. I rented two movies from Family Video. One is Knives Out. Finally got around to seeing that. Of course, that's still playing in theaters, but it's already out on video. I think it's been out for a couple of weeks. Knives Out, starring people like Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Daniel Craig. Very cool movie. Totally different than what I was expecting. I had understood, or I guess misunderstood, that it was going to be this very sort of broadly played satirical comedy about drawing room drama and mystery and murder and all that sort of thing. And there was a little bit of that. Had great dialogue and interaction between the characters, but it was a lot more serious as a story than I was expecting it to be. So even though it was unexpected, I did enjoy it. I'm very glad that I saw it. And I can understand now why everybody's been telling me, make sure you see this movie. So the other film that I rented was A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, starring Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and Matthew Rhys as a reporter for Esquire magazine named Lloyd Vogel, who is assigned to interview Mr. Rogers for a very brief and sort of positive essay talking about the man and his career and his image on TV. And Lloyd Vogel is a little more cynical and edgy than he probably should be, and he wants to sort of get underneath the image of Mr. Rogers and find out all the weirdness and the dirt that he's trying to hide. But what happens is Lloyd Vogel is very deeply and positively affected by Mr. Rogers, by his time with Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful story. Chris Cooper plays Lloyd Vogel's father, from whom he has been estranged, and that situation is part of the reason why he is so cynical and so edgy and so unhappy in his life. It's a very good movie, and I guess it was based loosely on a real character who did interact with Mr. Rogers and real happenings. So yeah, I'm very glad that I saw it. I had seen this film in the theaters a few months ago, and unfortunately, at the time that I saw it, I was pretty much at the end of this very bad chest cold, and I hadn't been to the movies for a while because I just kept coughing all the time. Well, I thought I could control it, right? I thought I was well enough where it was going to bother me. And I made it through maybe 2/3 of the movie, and then I just had this coughing fit that I couldn't stop. And I had to leave the theater for about maybe 10 minutes while I just hacked and choked in the men's room, and I missed a little bit of the movie. I came back right at the end, and I wanted to rent it and see what I had missed. So I watched the whole movie all the way through and totally enjoyed it. So, all right, those are the movies that I don't have anything to show. Here's what I watched on home video, films that I own. Started off with The Phantom of the Opera, which I picked up at Big Lots for $3 or something like that. I had never seen this movie. I had never seen the stage musical. I knew a little bit about it. I had heard one of the main songs in the film, which is "The Music of the Night," which is quite beautiful. And I really, really love this movie. It was beautiful to look at, and the music was just absolutely gorgeous. It's a very long movie. It's 141 minutes long, but I would watch this again just to hear all that beautiful music. Didn't know anything about any of the players. Only one, Minnie Driver, is in it, and she's very good. She's very funny. Let's see, the guy Gerard Butler, I guess, played the Phantom, and the leading lady is, I believe, Emmy Rossum. I had never heard of any of these people, but they were quite good. So I'm very glad that I saw this. Okay, next up, I watched The King of Marvin Gardens. This is one of the films in this box set from Criterion: America Lost and Found, the BBS Story, which includes films like Head, Easy Rider, Five Easy Pieces, Drive He Said, A Safe Place, The Last Picture Show, and The King of Marvin Gardens, all of which I have seen. This is the last one that I had to watch. Jack Nicholson, Bruce Dern, Ellen Burstyn, Scatman Carruthers is in it. Did not like this at all. Totally disappointed. This is from 1972, directed by Bob Rafelson. I did not get into this film at all. I thought that it had a story that was totally convoluted and not at all interesting, that did not pull me in at all, and I did not like the characters. What a disappointment. I mean, people like Bruce Dern, Jack Nicholson, Ellen Burstyn gave a very energetic performance, but she was just totally unlikable all the way through the film. And sorry. I'm sure there's some people out here who really like this movie. I'd like to hear what anybody might have to say about it, but I was not a convert. Sorry. So to make up for that big disappointment, I decided to rewatch an old classic from 1939, The Roaring Twenties, which is in this little TCM box set of gangster films from the Prohibition era. And this is from 1939. Jimmy Cagney, Priscilla Lane, Humphrey Bogart, Gladys George, Frank McHugh, and I'm leaving somebody out, and I can't remember the other actor. I'm trying to think. Jeffrey Lynn, I think that's the one. All about sort of an historical drama about Jimmy Cagney as a guy who comes up through the Great Depression and deals with becoming a bootlegger and a famous gangster during the Prohibition era, and all the different people and the women and the different criminals that he deals with. Bogart for sure. Great performances by everybody concerned. A bunch of Warner Brothers contract players from that era. Bogart is terrific. It's so nice to see the two of these guys together. Gladys George is wonderful. Everything about it is good. Highly recommended. Then I watched this film, Charlie Wilson's War. Tom Hanks once again with, Julia Roberts and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Interesting movie based on a real-life American congressman who was sort of a playboy congressman who got himself involved with trying to give arms to the people at the men of Afghanistan to fight against the Soviets when they were invading their country. A lot of this I didn't know about. I didn't know all these details, and I actually had never heard of this guy and had never seen this film before. I liked it very much. It's not one of the best films I ever saw, but a good change of pace kind of role for Tom Hanks. Very much of a change of pace for Julia Roberts. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is terrific. So yeah, it was a very enjoyable movie. Then I watched this movie called Act of Violence, which is on this double feature with Mystery Street. And this is part of one of the Warner Brothers film noir box sets. This is volume 4. And this is the only one of these I had never seen in this entire box set. Now, this came to my attention because my friend Castor of the Noir Channel did a review of this movie, and I watched the review and it caught my eye, and I thought, I know I have this film and I'm sure I've never watched it. So I went up and watched it that same night. Absolutely loved it. Robert Ryan, Van Heflin, Janet Leigh, Phyllis Thaxter, and Mary Astor. Great cast of actors in this very heavy drama about these two men who had been in the war together, and there was a big secret between them, which was really a dramatic plot point, and great character study of these two men and what they had gone through in their past, and what they had become in this post-war period. Absolutely a great movie, great cinematography, and great performances. So highly recommended. And finally, I watched this documentary called Lost Soul, the doomed journey of Richard Stanley, Island of Dr. Moreau. He was the man who directed this train wreck of the Island of Dr. Moreau in 1997, 1998, something like that, starring Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, and Richard Stanley. I have never seen this version of the Island of Dr. Moreau. I think I might want to see it now, but I've heard so much about it. So many people say of what a train wreck it was that I really was curious about this. And of course, what really attracted me to seeing this documentary is, as always, Barbara Steele, who was originally cast in the film to play the fiancée of Marlon Brando. She had a very small part. She was filmed early in this production by Richard Stanley, and then that was pretty much the end of her participation. But she has a terrific audio interview on this on the extra features where she talks about her experiences and how she got to know Marlon Brando and John Frankenheimer during her life in Hollywood. John Frankenheimer was the director who came in to replace Richard Stanley, and I guess, well, the whole thing is just really fascinating. And it interviews Richard Stanley quite a bit. He talks about how he sort of got in way over his head with his experience, and it also has an interview with John Frankenheimer. And I guess Brando was just insane, and he and Val Kilmer, it was kind of a contest to who had the most ego and the most uncontrollable ego among them. So anyway, this is a lot of fun. I'm very glad that I got it. And that is my diary for this week. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you've seen any of these movies. Later.